Hello, I'm Katri Kolesnik, Head of Business Technology Forum. This is the first video of a series of interviews with business technology leaders. This year we are celebrating the 10th anniversary of Business Technology Standard, and we decided to interview some CIOs from some of the most successful private and public sector organizations and share it through Business Technology Forum. Our first interview is with Teemu Salmi, who has been since 2017 Stora Enso's Senior Vice President, CIO and Head of Digitalization. I met Teemu in Stockholm, Sweden, where he is located, to talk about business technology past, present and future. Welcome, Teemu.
Thank you.
So happy to have you for this video interview. What has happened to you in your professional life during the past 10 years?
Well, I have to say that I have not been in IT the full past 10 years, the full past decade. I was actually working in IT in the end of 90s and in the beginning of the millennium, but then I left to run some core business actually. So I've been running some services business for the past 7 years before the last 3 years when I've been back in IT and heading up having the CIO role here and head of digitalization at Stora Enso, right? So that's my past 10 years, I would say.
So how do you see now the difference if you look where we are now compared to where it was when you left the IT world?
Well, honestly, many things are the same. I mean, there's similar topics being discussed, and many topics hasn't evolved. I mean, from a topic perspective, of course, technology has evolved, and there's many other things that have evolved. But the discussions are pretty much the same. There are a couple of topics that I think have changed actually. I think one topic is the fact that CIOs now these days are actually considered being part of the core when it comes to company transformation. That was not the case back when I was in IT, say 15, 20 years ago. So that's one thing that has happened. So many CIOs are now invited to the table, or many CIOs are reporting to CEO, and many CIOs are part of the executive leadership team for bigger groups, right? That's a big change that I see. And I see that it's also more accepted these days that technology is an enabler for you to actually transform your business. A platform economy is built a lot on technology, right? So those are big things that I see have actually changed. And that movement continues to actually accelerate what I see and when I talk to my colleagues on the market as well.
So how do you see that this changes the work of a CIO when you are much more with the business?
Good actually follow-up question, because one thing I forgot to mention which is related to this question is that many of the CIOs I see now, they come from a business background like myself, not necessarily the technology background, because if you've been running a business with an P&L and you know what it takes and what it means, it's easier as a CIO to relate to that and understand how do you support and help and enable the transformation of a business when you've been running a business yourself. So that is actually a change. I see that more CIOs have a business background than the technology background. Now, having said that, I have some technology background myself as well, but I'm much more business savvy, I would say, than I am technology savvy.
You said that there are some similar topics, or the same topics that there was 15 years ago. What are those similarities?
I think one of the big challenges is still in many companies that IT is seen as a cost, right? Yeah, we are working hard to transform the view of IT to being a value driver, a value enabler, right? Because I always say that it might be good actually to invest 10 more million, I'm just saying a number, in IT. If you can take 50 million of cost out somewhere else, you won't see it in the IT P&L or in the IT cost, but you might see it on the bottom line of the company. So unfortunately, too many times still today, IT is seen as a cost and not as a value enabler. And that's a topic that we have been working, and I have personally been working very hard with the last couple of years to enable that, to make sure that whenever we invest in IT, we also are very transparent about what the value is that we're gaining as a company from that investment, and who is actually then responsible for realizing that value, the benefit realization part, right? With that change in dialogue with the business, you actually also change the game between IT and business, because then it's more understood and acknowledged that, hey, yes, you're right, with automation, with digitalization, with new technology, we are actually able to take out cost somewhere else, not necessarily in the IT part. So investing in IT, increasing your IT cost might not be so bad if you can actually take the value out somewhere else.
How has this message come through now to the business? Is business accepting this message?
I can only talk about myself and at Stora Enso now. It's been taken a couple of years. We established a clear reporting of our investments, right? So when we start a project, we have a clear governance of where we make the decisions of the IT investments. Actually, I'm fortunate from that perspective that I get to sit with my boss, our CEO, once a month to say, these are the requests coming from business for IT investments. This is the one-time project cost. This is the 5-year operational cost we will have once we go live. And this is the benefit we will get over the same 5-year period. And it's also very clear there who is accountable for then realizing that value. So right as we speak now, we're starting to measure and report back on the value realization. Are we then getting the value that we said in the beginning of the project or before we started the project that we will get? And I think that's where the rubber will hit the road, if we can also say that and see that, yes, on the bottom line, there's actually an impact of the IT investment that we're making. So we're in the middle of this transformation right now, but I would say, yes, it is definitely changing, and you're becoming more cautious about when and how you ask for IT investment, because you also know that you will need to be accountable for realizing the value out of it.
So how does this affect the IT organization?
So we need to be able to not only talk about technology, but translate that into business language and business lingo. So you can actually help the business understand what will you get from this solution and how will that help your transformation, right? So we have to become better in talking not technical lingo, but also business lingo. That is one definite challenge that we have. And of course, another challenge that I see on the market is that we are going much more for best of breed solutions. So we need to be much better and looking at, if we take, for instance, sales and operational planning, what are the available solutions on the market that would be a good fit for us to use as well, to give suggestions to the business of what solutions to use to get the most value out of them, right? So it is twofold, and those two we have to constantly work with from an IT organization perspective.
Thinking about the CIO role and the day-to-day job, sort of, I'm thinking about the stakeholders you spend time with. How is your calendar? Who do you spend the time most with?
I don't think you want to see my calendar. No, that was a joke. Well, there's different kind of stakeholders. Of course, we have our external partners. I mean, we should not forget that I have an organization today of roughly 500 people, but that's not enough to deliver the IT portfolio that we have. So I have, of course, a big external partner ecosystem that I need to manage. I try to spend time there to explain where we are going as a company, why we are going there, and how they can help us to, help us to run our transformation journey. So external partners is one key stakeholder. Of course, internal partners as well. Colleagues in the business, making sure that we are equipped to help with the internal transformation as well, and connecting the dots between the external and the internal. So that's another big part. And then personally, I have a passion for leadership, and I think IT is at the end of the day people business. So in a people business, the only asset you have is people. So we need to make sure that we have motivated people, we have engaged people, and we have great leaders who actually can lead our IT transformation to make sure that we stay relevant for the rest of the organization.
So that leads me to thinking about the next generation and the kind of young professionals thinking of their future careers. If you now think back what you've been doing in your career, so what would be your advice to them?
Wow. Well, I guess before I give any advice, I'm going to be humble enough to say that personally, and this might sound strange, I've never had an ambition of career. I mean, for me, doors have been opening, and doors have been opening to left, right, and center, and I've been always happy to try new things myself. So I ended up in this position. It was not by kind of focus that I'm going to be a CIO and I end up there. But so my advice is to be curious, continuous learning, learn new stuff, understand, be humble, listen. Take in a lot. Outside-in perspective is very important to me personally. And then, also do things that you're passionate about yourself. Because if you're not passionate about what you do, the results will not be good. That's my personal view, right? Because I've been doing jobs as well where I haven't felt, the 100% passion, and I haven't been doing a good job. So nowadays, when I've been getting older, maybe a bit more wiser, I always ask myself, do I want this job? And if I doubt, then I'm more than happy to say, no, I won't take the job, because I know that I won't be good for you and you won't be good for me. So passion, continuous learning, and be curious.
Based on what you said, so I think you are passionate about IT. Why is it? Why are you passionate about IT?
IT is not only technology, it's about people as well, right? Making sure that, you drive a people business in front of you. I like working with people. I like the leadership topic. That's a very good, part for me to work with in my role of CIO and IT, right? But of course, it's the mix of technology, people, and then also, I would say, when we from IT are able to help our business understand how we can support them on their transformation journey, that's also very kind of rewarding for me, saying, that's a very good idea, get the handshake with the business, and yeah, that's a good thing, let's go for that. Whether it's about helping to increase automation, digitalization, or to find new revenue streams based on platform economy. Those things I really like and I'm really passionate about. And we've been doing all of them, actually. We've been helping the business, together with the business, developing new platform businesses. We have new revenue streams that we haven't had before. And together with the business, we have also been able to find new best-of-breed solutions to tackle different process areas as well.
Now let's talk a bit about the BB standard, which we have here behind us.
If I just rewind the tape a little bit, and I started to look into what's available in Stora Enso, how does IT look like today, and so on. And I saw that there was a process journey that had been going on for many years, but without real tangible results. I mean, small incremental steps, but it was going too slow. So I'm a bit lazy. As a person, I said we should look at what's on the market. There are probably many different standards available when it comes to how to run an IT business. And we looked at different opportunities. BT came up, and I like the fact that it's kind of crowd sourced. I like that. It's an open source where you contribute and you get also knowledge from other of your peers on the market. I like that. So that's how we actually started to evaluate in different kind of structures, frameworks, and we ended up with BT. And we thought that this is actually what we need within Stora Enso IT and digitalization, and we decided there and then. It was really not a big decision. We said this is the framework we're going to use. Now we're going to a bit tailor it so it really fits what we want to do and our scope of responsibility. And then we set the sail. And now we started our internal transformation journey we call WOW, ways of working, and also the WOW effect that we really want to instill in the organization by deploying our processes. And we've been doing that now for 2 years, pretty much, a bit more than 2 years. And now we're kind of approaching the end of the first round. So now finally we can state that we are becoming a process-driven IT and digital organization enabled by BT.
So the idea behind the business technology standard is also to give the business the kind of view what IT management is about, and also to get a kind of idea that, okay, managing this together with IT would be then the ideal solution. So how do you see this role of business and IT in terms of managing the information technology?
If I look at the different parts of BT that we have deployed ourselves, I mean, we have the governance part of the BT, where is the ways of working with business is defined, like with the business relationship management and governance in itself. How do we govern our services? And then we have our demand. How do we capture demands? How do we work with demand management all the way from development into services? So, I mean, there's many parts of there. But if we would pick a couple of few really concrete examples, I think personally where I'm really proud and happy that we have come some way is when I talk about, for instance, the benefit realization, which I talked about earlier. That part, that process in itself has given a lot of value, and I think also increased the understanding of how and where IT is spending their money. And if you're not tangible about that, if you can't have that discussion with the business and explain very concretely that, there will not be an increased understanding of IT and IT spend. But once you're able to do that, and once you're able to explain that and show that in real numbers, suddenly you get a different kind of dialogue going, and you can actually see that you create the closeness and proximity between business and IT that you want to have, because it needs to be a partnership. It needs to go hand in hand. It's not two different animals. IT is an integral part of the business. That's how it should be seen, and nothing else.
So now we are having the version 4 of the business technology standard, and this is a kind of continuous development work all the time. How do you see, when thinking of how the business technology standard is nowadays, what are the next development areas you would like to see?
More about value-driven IT. I think we can do even more in value-driven IT. We talk about value-driven IT now when it comes to the project domain. I mean, that's what I'm talking to you about as well. We need to become more value-driven in services as well. How can we talk about our services portfolio and the value-driven services that we deliver to our core organization? I think the value argumentation and IT value part for business, that is where we need to continuously work on. And second big area that we have embarked on ourselves is roles, right? Because one thing is the processes that you have. Well, we realized when we were deploying our processes that, hey, we don't have harmonized roles. Who actually are going to do what in this process map? We need to redo all our roles. So we started looking into that, and we realized that we had some over 200 different job descriptions for 500 people, and said, no, this is not going to fly. So then we took a big stab at that, and now we created 38 standard roles that we have now deployed. It's done as of November 2019. So all our 500 people are now assigned to one of these standard 38 roles, which is then directly connected to the processes and the BT framework that we're using for executing.
So now going back on what you said about the busy schedules and everything. So maybe a few words about your private life. So how do you do this work-life balance then as a CIO?
Oh wow, that's a good question as well. I mean, I have to say also, there's a privilege of having my job, because I'm not attached physically to a location, right? I don't necessarily have to be in the office to perform my work. I can plan my days very freely, to be honest. Of course I have a lot of things to do, but where and how and when, many of them I can schedule myself. Some of them of course connected to different kind of team meetings, leadership meetings, whatever, which I need to take and where I physically need to be. But personally, it's a lot of job, it's a lot of work. I can't deny that, but I have quite a lot of freedom to plan my daily life myself, which means if I need to do something privately on a Tuesday morning, I schedule to do that. And then if I need to work on a Saturday afternoon, I do that. And I try to tell my team the same thing, right? Schedule your days as you want. You know what you need to do. That is very important. Never ever compromise on that. But how you do it, it's up to you. And we talked about that also in my leadership team, that you can send an email at 2 o'clock in the morning, but that doesn't mean that you have to answer within 5 minutes. It just means that this is the time of day that suits me right now. I might be in US, I might be in China, and I'm working, but I need to be able to work. I would say I'm privileged. Even though I have a lot of things on my plate, I'm still kind of privileged to be able to plan my days myself.
Now that you are and have been working on a global scale, sort of, that do you see that now that we are and our ambition is to spread the kind of BT standard globally as well? Of course, it's available there already, but spread the news and tell about it. So how do you see that? How would other maybe companies outside of Scandinavia or Nordic receive it? This idea of openness.
As long as you understand what you need to do and what your ambition and target is, and you find a framework or a standard that matches what you want to achieve, why not use it? That's my kind of personal view on that. Having a crowdsourced framework where you contribute yourself with your knowledge, and you also will gain from the other ones who might have worked in other parts of the framework where you haven't, is perfect, isn't it? That's the way of sharing knowledge. That's the way of actually, I think, moving into the future ways of working.